Greetings. Hopefully we have enough light in here. Greetings everyone, welcome to Dorsey's Resource. The title of this video is going to be Humanitarian Project Ideas, Paying It Forward, and Q&A. Case for those of you all who joined the chat. But first, before I delve into it, let me give a disclaimer. This video is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Please understand everyone's individual circumstance or situation may be different. Good evening, Camilla Barnes. Welcome to the Dorsey's Resource Live. Please keep in mind everyone's individual circumstance or situation may be different. It's up to every individual competent person. Please do his or her own homework. And to the matter being discussed, this information is not to be construed as legal advice. In any event, you need to seek a competent professional. It is encouraged that you do so at one's own leisure. Dorsey's Resource Channel is not liable or responsible for any misuse of this information. These are simply my thoughts and opinions on this topic matter and subject. With that being said, all rights are reserved. Greetings, everyone. Once again, I want to thank you guys for joining me. I'm your host, John Dorsey. You can follow me at Dorsey's Resource on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Title of this video I wanted to touch on. It's been a long time, but I thought about this topic for quite some time, because those of you all out there who do know me personally know what I was part of before. There's some things I hear that's getting ready to occur, possibly sometime next year. I have my ears to the ground with certain people that share information, but keep in mind, once again, you have people higher up than me that are more privy to information that is being kept confidential. Is related to the GCR, by the way. So I wanted to touch on some things. This is going to be kind of like a freestyle. I didn't really get a chance to take a lot of notes like I had intended prior. What definitely I had to some years back, we were required to write out or I will type out ideas for different humanitarian programs. You all may have had ideas for those who were part of this private clandestine operation thing that I was part of some years back, and there were some other ones out there, and some of you all may have heard from listening to conference calls on the Iraqi dinar, other foreign currencies such as Vietnamese dong, especially Zimbabwe notes, etc. I won't really touch into that, but if you guys do have questions, this is Q&A, so feel free to chime in. Some ideas that I had that I'm going to go off the top of the head, I think are critical. It was mentioned a lot of cities maybe on the comeback or need help with the revitalization efforts, but you have old infrastructure. So one idea, and of course, before I would like to, how can I put it, delve into some of these things myself, it is encouraged also that you set up a trust and have a proper foundation. Now, I did give a disclaimer, this is not legal advice, but I hear that there's classes that they've already had out there. It's been around for quite a while, so it's important how you structure yourself too with the types of trust, the entities that you're going to operate through to do these humanitarian projects, because some of the ruling class at the top. Hold on for a second. All right, they operate behind the scenes through these different types of entities, such as foundations, certain types of nonprofits, and they're structured differently as well. You have certain entities that are in the public, and then you have other entities that are in the private, but you have to know how to operate them so you don't commingle as well, from what I understand. Now, I'm still learning myself. This is why I also do give a disclaimer. It can be a very complex subject, and this can go in depth. This is some of the unconventional type of information that I learned about in the redemption movement that is real, contrary to popular belief. I found out some years back that it does go all the way high up once we found out about these private banking trusts, the private trust accounts, and other types of entities that are used by ruling class elites and high net worth people operate through. They use a different method than just some organizations out in the public. But the title of this video, I want to kind of stay on track, was humanitarian project ideas. Some ideas I had was, for example, I think certain cities, infrastructures that may have gone through a bankruptcy or may need assistance behind the scenes. With one of the locations that I'm at, here in Michigan. It was by this individual that's pretty known, businessman slash, I say, developer, donated funds for EMS vehicles. I know some cities that have failing infrastructures need EMS vehicles, because I guess that costs the city money when they have a budget, and some of these cities across the country may have been mismanaged by previous administrations, stuff like that, etc. So that's one idea for those out there, and he did it, from what I heard, through his foundation. I won't say the name, but I do follow. It was mentioned on the news. It was kind of public private, so it was shared on the news, but he did it through his foundation, they mentioned. And that's one of the types of entities when I was part of this private program that they were sharing with us. So I think EMS vehicles, I think we need help on roads. That's an idea. Some of the things I would like to do is use my units of funds to help with the roads. Bro, I will be getting with you. You are some ideas and working on for our city. Okay, excellent. You know, I remember who you were, Miss Norwegian. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your other name correctly, and I won't say the other name that you were going by, but I remember, you know, Madam Secretary. What I said I wasn't going to say, but it's still not your real name. But I remember who you were from the Discord app. Yeah. Yep. So, but to stay on track, some ideas for the humanitarian projects would be, I went over EMS vehicles. That was one thing, because when the city was kind of going through a bankruptcy, there were people that had dire situations, where I even heard some instances where the police had to transport some people to the hospital where they were waiting on like a couple hours, because and I saw this happen in Highland Park, Michigan previously, before it hit Detroit some years back. I used to commute kind of through that area when I used to catch the bus years ago, actually when I first started with the company that I'm still with now. So ideas definitely would be EMS vehicles, to see if they have proper equipment, even with fire departments, infrastructure, such as innovative things such as solar panels. If you know about, I would invest in technology. I saw a businessman, a developer who was from India, I believe. I don't remember his name, but it was on YouTube. I should have bookmarked it, but he was doing some phenomenal humanitarian projects that appeared to be worldwide, that delve into some scientific, innovative technology. I know some of it dealt with solar panels, because it helps like with energy and things of that nature, conserving energy, so you're not using just old infrastructures. But at the same time, not to get political, I'm someone who I understand certain demographics around the country depend on those jobs too, like such as coal miners and things, and there are those that argue versus going on new technology. But I think that this could be another humanitarian project, to provide programs for people if they're going to get rid of old technology, provide programs to help those people transition into new infrastructure, such as the former governor, Jennifer Granholm in Michigan, had a program called No Worker Left Behind. I think it was an excellent program, but unfortunately, I had a friend of mine that went into information technology, computers, and he stated to me they ran out of funding. He was actually called up from the principal at the office building that they would have the classes at. They ran out of state government funding. He went through, by the time he went through it, but it was an excellent program. He almost got his certification, everything at the end, and was nipped right out that because they ran out of funding. So these are some other ideas in terms of people that may live in rural areas that are not a large population. It says we applied for that and never got the funds. Okay, that's good intel. Yeah, I understand, because I think it was a great idea that she had at the time, as they were trying to get help those in the older generation that had missed out. And I won't go into all the details, because I by no means am I an expert, but the little bit that I keep up with, some of it was mentioned, of course, on the news as well. Good evening to all. Good evening, George. Thank you. Welcome to the discussion, the live chat. And I just think that's another idea for in terms of humanitarian projects. If you have a way where you know how to properly help your city or local government or even state do projects privately. Of course, it's recommended you're structured properly. You do it through your foundations or your private entities, and structure, because that's what I'm going to have to do. The thing, my biggest obstacle in learning this high level type of information is that it's getting the proper education. Happy holidays to you, D. Oh, thank you, Carnell Smith. I appreciate it. Yeah, happy belated Christmas to everyone. I meant to give previously everybody a shout out, but happy belated Christmas. Those of y'all who do celebrate the holiday, Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you. Or those who do celebrate Kwanzaa and Hanukkah as well, happy holidays to those who celebrate Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and the other holidays I may have missed. Thank you guys for joining, by the way. So back to humanitarian ideas. I put in my project, I still have my notes from some years back. They wanted us to do at least 70 pages. Jim Jones said, would like information on starting a scholarship for urban areas. Okay, that's a great idea, Jim Jones. I don't have all the answers, but what I was thinking about working on doing, and I would need the collaboration and assistance myself, because I'm still studying with that private project that I'm part of. Things are going more private and are getting ready to, from what they stated recently to us, an important critical aspect. And I do, when I get a chance, it was hard to kind of keep the motivation after all of these years when a certain individual did resurface on the scene. And I wasn't even sure if he was coming back, but I was hearing that from certain individuals because of what previously happened. But unfortunate thing, I talked to a few people in the family recently, and they were kind of upset. They want us to do some of the paperwork that we had done through the DTC all over again. And I felt we already, some of us, kind of paid the money for the seminars and things. Our paperwork was submitted. They were still holding our documents. And I remember we were told we were going to get that back, as well as our thumb drives. Those of us, in case you weren't aware, some of us submitted thumb drives. So in case they made any mistakes, they could make corrections on our paperwork that was copied onto the thumb drives or whatever from the computers they were using at the time. But they're saying now, because I thought at the time a closing date was not put on the paperwork, I thought that they were still going to be able to unlock it, but he stated it's gone into the private, and some of us were going to have to set up new type of accounts. And it's kind of really difficult, but I was telling myself, I don't complain, just man up and try to do it. But at the same time, to those out there who may be advanced or know this type of information, there appears to be only a handful of people at the top who know this high level information, who are connected to that program I was part of. I'm speaking in code in a way, so I'm not saying the name, but some of you all who know me know as someone who previously just joined in the chat when I was invited to the Discord server. I haven't been on there in months, actually, since the halfway part of this year actually was the last time I was active at all. I haven't logged in since, pretty much literally maybe once in every blue moon, but it's been several months. But they know that program that I was part of, so they're aware of what I'm talking about. But I have to speak in code too, because we were told to do things more privately, so I want to respect that too, as far as the anonymity and things of that nature. Keymar says, hey Dorsey, greetings. What's up, Keymars? Welcome to the chat. Appreciate you. Thank you for joining. So to continue with humanitarian ideas, I went over infrastructure. I think if you can help in the cities or counties that you live at, if you're in rural areas, for roads, I think like in Michigan, they constantly need funding to have good roads, EMS vehicles, fire trucks if they need new fire trucks. If you can use your foundation or things to donate from behind the scenes, would be some great ideas. Also touching on food banks, I think as we're moving down the line, food is going to be an important thing. Infrastructure and agriculture, in terms of if you can fund farming or growing food, finding a way to provide hydroponics or vegetation for people, because there's a lot of people who are starving out here who need help who need assistance. And, you know, one person is difficult, can't help everybody. And then the way the elites have it set up, you have to do it privately or do it through these entities like I'm mentioning, because just because you might have a lot of money, some people don't understand, just because you may be rich, you know, they have these rules in place where you can't just go giving money to people for tax purposes, because then if that person makes it public, then it could become a taxable event. And that person, if they mention the name who gave them the money, says, got a plan for the food, bro. Okay, great, excellent. That's you know, great to hear. The MB Gang TV says, what up, Dorsey? Appreciate you, MB Gang TV. Big shout out to you. I want to try to acknowledge everybody in the chat. That's why I kind of pause sometimes as well. Thank you guys for joining. But food banks, I think is going to be important. One of the ideas I wrote in my project that I typed up, I didn't get up to the 70 pages, but I had a lot of information, was I wanted to donate to Gleaners, Food Bank Forgotten Harvest. A friend of my mother was just telling me recently, she said the Detroit Rescue Mission, she said, I think, versus the Salvation Army. She was saying, Trina May says, hi, Dorsey, greetings to you, Trina May. She's a friend of my mother was telling me on Christmas, I believe that the Detroit Rescue Mission, the money, the funds gets there quicker. And Namaste, greetings, Infinity Blue. What if we could do it without money? I have been designing a creative inner economy system. That's a great idea. I believe that was Key Mars. Since I'm on the live chat, just to give you guys a heads up, I'm on my phone, so I'll try to keep up as much as I can. You know, when some of you guys have large sentences, quotes, I haven't learned maybe if it's a certain button I can hit on my phone to kind of read some of the previous messages. So that's why as I'm speaking, I'll try to read what you guys are saying as you guys jump in, by the way. Whereas when I was on my computer, I could see the messages and read in real time. So I didn't finish seeing everything you were saying, Key Mars, but I think that's a great idea if you are advanced and you can do things without money, because I am aware of the private sector and some things that they have in place that are advanced to the average individuals, actually. So I mentioned food. I wanted to donate. So back to my mother's friend was sharing with me that if you donate to the Detroit Rescue Mission, I think she was telling me that the funds or the help, if it's clothes, it gets to the people quicker. Because I said I had some clothes I wanted to give away. I guess she was mentioning versus the Salvation Army. But I had heard that the Salvation Army, are we speaking about the RI/RV also? Yes, if you had questions, MB Gang TV, you're welcome. This is kind of related to that, the after effect once you come into the money, but this is kind of going over overview. If you, in case you're just joining, I mentioned in the beginning, as far as structure, it's important. Those of us who are not advanced, like even myself, I'm still studying. There's some people out there that are all the way through the window. They made it through the door where they're advanced. I'm not at that level yet. I would have liked to be, but these are some ideas that I had, and I just wanted to do a video to kind of give you guys ideas. Some of you guys that can learn better and pick up better in terms of says, I got you, I understand, thank you. I have been designing a system to create an inner city economy among people like us. Okay, thanks, Key Mars. I was reading your previous message and MB Gang TV as well to address your question. So if you do have questions about the RV, this is kind of related. This is dealing with the after effect once the funding, I guess, starts. Humanitarian project ideas and paying it forward. And you can pay it forward to people in other ways too. This is not always financially. Like just prior to Christmas, I had a friend, one of his vehicles broke down. And I was with him. I came out there with his other friend, Buddy, was there the day. And one night I followed them. He towed one of his vehicles with his other vehicle. And I stood as like a lookout. I was the third vehicle behind him the other night. Then a couple days, this previous Sunday, I actually helped assist with his vehicle that was down. The battery was drained, so we had it in neutral, and I helped him tow his vehicle and get it to the location. So I feel good helping people. Sometimes definitely people that have looked out for me too, and having integrity, loyalty. Like there's a saying, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. It may not always be about that, but you want to be loyal to friends, people that also have helped you or have poured into you as well. And these are other ways to pay it forward. And I felt, you know, good and having the ability to do that when he asked me and couldn't find his other friend, was not able to come through. And I do work a night shift, so even despite it was kind of rough on me, I told him that night I was a little bit late to work, but however, I felt good being able to help someone. And I can't always do this, but for somebody like himself that's looked out for me in the past and we've done different things, it's a blessing to help other people. And there are other ways you can pay it forward to help someone. So it's not always about the money. Sometimes at the end of the day, there's other ways you can pay it forward just by helping somebody, just being there for them, giving somebody a hug, letting them know you love them and you care. So back to the subject, I went over, okay, city infrastructure, food. I think water is going to be important. You have a lot of people like with Flint, Michigan, by the way, as infrastructures are failing. I went over the roads, medical, EMS vehicles, fire trucks in certain municipalities that are important, very important, critical. God forbid if, certain untimely things occur, that these different types of municipalities and what do you call them? First responders have access to the equipment and things they need is very important as we're moving forward. As sometimes cities, the monies were previously mismanaged, or they may be going through, a bankruptcy or whatnot. These are some ideas that are important to help out, as well as a lot of families, women and children, people out there, homeless people that may be starving, people who need clothes, clothing. This is why I said donate. I had ideas. If God willing, if I'm able to come into the funding, and it's going to be important how you structure yourself too, and I'm going to need assistance with that. I'm just kind of putting this out there to the message to, if there's any elites that may be watching this, good ones that were part of the private humanitarian program or project that I was part of, can understand. There's some of us who want to fully understand that we're structured properly. So we're going to need the proper education. Some of us are going to need the guidance, assistance. So it's not that some of us don't want to pay it forward, but it's the rules that you guys, the system has in place too. Like I said, when you gift people, like the banks have a rule, like if you give over $10,000, say that person you gave 10,000 or 15,000 to, if they report it publicly and mention the name of that person, if that individual did not properly do it through LLC or foundation or whatever, they could get in big trouble, or both people could be, in harm's way. The person that was given the money may not understand the accounting paperwork that needs to be processed or whatever. This is kind of like red tape stuff versus those who don't know about the private sector versus public and private. So I know I'm going over a little bit of advanced information, but I'm also trying to give you guys a warning, a heads up, and some of the obstacles that I face myself personally in studying this high level type of information in the particular discipline that I'm involved with as well. And other things, I have a friend that's involved in another discipline that deals with survival and prepping, and I think it's critical. Down the line, I would like to take a class, another EMS class. I've taken a previous course with my job that I passed. I was just looking at the card. I didn't realize I still had it back in 2013 through the Red Cross, through a former coworker that taught our first responder class. A lot of people that work in security throughout the years. It's an added plus to have on your resume too, but I would like to take a refresher course. These things are important, I think, that delve in the prepping survival discipline, because God forbid, but if as cities infrastructures are crumbling, or if there's a pandemic event or natural disasters or crises that could take place or could occur, first responders are going to be important. Nurses, doctors, people who have firefighting skills, even military personnel that have those type of skill sets will play a critical role. So I'm going to work on things of that nature. That's why I'm studying that discipline as well. Thank you, Scrums. What's up to you? Greetings. Thank you for joining the chat. Big shout out to you, by the way. And Scrums, in case you guys don't know, he's joined in some of my previous videos. He was part of the CMKX lawsuit, by the way, that's tied in with the GCR because there's people that out there that don't believe that this was real. And Scrums appreciate the info he shared previously, that this helps confirm about the GCR, dinar, and things of that nature being real. And there's other evidence as well I won't go into, but thanks for the information. And a documentary, excellent documentary you guys can watch for free on YouTube. It's called Changes on the Horizon. Says, you mentioned about the Indian settlement time. One of my friends did get theirs, and I got 1K each, or whatever. Okay, excellent. You know, that's more confirmation. Yeah, because I heard about there were settlements dealing with the farmers, settlement that goes way back to the way this was put in place. The GCR was a collection of things as well. Trina may say, Dorsey, I was late, so can you tell me how I can get started or apply to get access to the funds to do humanitarian work? Well, Trina, I have to keep it basic for the time being. What I can say I'll make an exception for, and I have to for security purposes, and also because I have a very busy schedule. And I do remember you have reached out to me in the past. You personally, if you have the question that you just had for me, you can reach me at Dorsey's Resource 2017 at gmail.com. It's spelled Dorsey's Resource with the S at the end. That's my last name, and then resource 2017 at gmail.com. That email specifically. I had another one I don't use, and I'm gonna have to play catch up with that email as well. So I can go into more detail about dealing with the funds, the humanitarian work as well. There was someone else, I'm not sure if it was you, who reached out to me to my other email that I had just at Dorsey's Resource at Gmail, but I don't check that as much. You're welcome, by the way, and thank you for joining. So since I didn't use that other email as much, I didn't see their message till like months later, because I have like four main emails that I use. Of course, I check a couple of them or a few of them consistently, and Dorsey's Resource, I try to check that. I used to check it like every 3 days. I might try to check it every less or get back to every 3 days, other than every week. Hold on for a sec.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I was just checking, guys. I'm still at the what I call the slavery plantation, as a figure of speech. It's a whole nother discussion within itself. I was listening to have to do these radio checks, so just paying attention. But as I'm going over humanitarian projects, went over food, water is important. Water filtration as well. Like when I mentioned Flint, I was getting on that earlier. Kind of got sidetracked trying to answer you guys' questions. Water is important. As you guys know, a lot of the tap water is not healthy for you overall because it has fluoride, aluminum, hydrofluoric acid. And I had actually purchased a filter myself some years ago, and it was actually a filter I had found out from Alex Jones's website, Infowars. It was a filter called ProPure, but he had another filter called AlexaPure that is supposed to be, it gets out more chemicals. They have like a chart that's set up that shows the amount of different chemicals the tap water has in it. And when I was looking at the comparison between the chart, it was put out by a lab that's somewhere on the East Coast, but generally they will come with a like a chart that mentions that they have to go through a certification test. And ProPure is up there. It's one of the best filtrations that you can have that's not hooked up to, like, some people have advanced ones that cost like several thousand that are hooked up to like their sink. But these are some of the best ones that you can have. I forget the other term they use for them, that are like you can take camping with you or whatever. And that's what I use at my apartment. Is I had a filter, and there's a big difference because some years ago I had a good friend of mine that I was mentioning earlier that studies in the survival discipline, which I kind of just went over, and him and this other friend who was into spirituality used to tell me, they would say, you're dehydrated. So my friend, he bought me a water bottle from REI, which, big shout out to him, really appreciate that. So I bring it with me to work like practically every night faithfully. And when I went through a situation, last year. My friend, his information expertise was on point. I actually experienced a power outage where I live at my apartment building. Actually, earlier? I think last year. I think it was, yeah, last March actually, because we're about to head into 2019. But I was one of the unlucky people in the city of Detroit where my power went out that Wednesday, and unfortunately I had got news the next day that my grandfather had passed away. So I didn't have any electricity at my apartment, and some of the days the temperature dropped down, to temperatures we're dealing with below. I don't want to say, I think some of the days was below zero, but it was still cold. It was early part of March, by the way. And I survived, and my friend said you actually lose more dehydration, believe it or not, in the wintertime. He had told me that prior, and I said actually he was on point with that. And just to show you guys, by the way, this is the water bottle that I bring with me. He got me some years back from REI, by the way, so big shout out to him for that. Believe it or not, because that week it actually made me a stronger person. It toughened me up, because we get so used to using the technology and things, we get so accustomed to that when there's a grid down situation or when the lights go out, we don't know. It's hard for people to adjust, and fortunately I was able to adjust, and I could probably do a separate video with how I survived too. Steven says good evening, brother. Appreciate you, Steven. Thank you for joining, by the way. So just going through the experience where these different disciplines are important, and how you can combine disciplines with his skill set, and how I relay information from my skill set that I'm involved with, and we take notes, share information. So kind of like Voltron, would come together. If you remember the cartoon back in the day, you combine your abilities or superpowers together, like some of the X-Men, and then you can get something great out of it. Getting back on the topic, once again, I went over water filtration. It's important. Like, I have this filter, and I bought mine off of eBay, by the way, but you can check online. Alex Jones's site, Infowars, has good filters. Alexa Pure, I hear, is a good one. And they mentioned like a chart that shows the chemicals and stuff. So like, if a lot of the residents in Flint, this would be a great idea. Like, if I had the money, this is something that I would do. Well, of course, it would be recommended that you do it privately through a foundation or through another entity that's more private. It send a lot of residents of people, and some people are like balling out of control, billionaires, and you have people, even trillionaires out there, believe it or not, as crazy as that may sound, could provide or redo the infrastructure, but help the residents hook up advanced systems you have that can go into like the sink. They're more expensive, may cost several thousand, but will do a good job getting rid of the fluoride, the aluminum hydrofluoric acid, because it was sad how you had children and people getting sick or whatever. And I won't go into the politics behind that, because I did hear years ago there were certain politicians that decided to take them off the system they were using before and put them on the river water, which I felt was a big no-no. That should have never happened from the beginning. Some people made those decisions, and I won't go into how I felt, how certain individuals try to pin the blame on the Republicans, but Flint is also a liberal controlled city, just like Detroit. Okay, I'm not trying to get political. I'm not going to even go there, but I'm just saying, even Channel 7 WXYZ locally mentioned certain individuals when some of the bottled water and stuff was supposed to be getting to the residents. They went over who actually was stealing some of the water and doing, it was a lot of shenanigans, because people in this state don't realize they were politicizing that whole situation too. This is why the elites at the top, some of the ruling class, and this is a touchy subject to touch on, doesn't necessarily always have people's best interests at heart. I was discussing with a coworker the other day. I get where he's coming from, but I don't feel like all rich people or people that have money are evil. But this is why it's important for poor middle class people who have the skill set, the integrity, the willingness to help people out. And that's why I'm sharing these ideas to fix things and really help out. Because there's those that play this game where they call themselves philanthropists, but the money isn't going to where it should go to. And they do, there's studies out there that do research. And of course, I think for tax purposes, watchdog groups that look into how much a foundational organization is putting into humanitarian assistance or helping people out, such as nonprofits and things of that nature. So, these are some ideas. So it will be important to help with water filtration, because a lot of these systems, these municipalities, they're using old water filtration, infrastructure systems. So I had ideas with water filtration is important, with filters, and the one I purchased off of eBay, the gentleman that I found out, the guy that was behind producing that was here in Michigan, because a former coworker had told me that he had bought his from InfoWars at the time, but he said it took a long time for it to come. So that's the reason I purchased mine online. I got mine off of eBay because he said he was frustrated by that at the time. It took a long time for the filter to show up in the mail that he had paid for, because they can be quite a bit, a couple $100, and that can be a lot of money to some people. But it went to help prisons. The one I bought, the guy that sold the filter said it goes to help out prison, or he had like a prison ministry, I guess, to help prisons. It was some type of nonprofit. So I felt good. It's going towards a cause, actually. When I purchased my filter, it was going towards helping assist with the humanitarian cause or whatever. So that was good to know. But do as thou will, those of you all who decide. But look up ProPure is an excellent filter. Alexa Pure, as far as if you can't afford the very expensive filtration systems that cost several thousand that you can have hooked up to your kitchen sink, or even other advanced systems that can go throughout the house, where you damn near have to be like an engineer or scientist. But I have people that I know, one guy in particular with some of those type of skill sets that can do those things, but everybody can't do that type of stuff. So I'm just giving you guys different ideas. Water filtration is going to be important. Food is important. If you can donate food, there's a lot of people out here who need assistance as certain programs or things are cut. Remember, don't forget the downtrodden, the poor out there. So they need, you need food, water filtration. I went over infrastructure, EMS vehicles, fire trucks, important critical first responders. They need proper equipment, so it can help them get to these, if God forbid, when there are emergencies and things, it can help them get there quicker. If you can fund classes to teach people skill sets of first aid, we were even told your humanitarian project could even be teaching people how to operate through nonprofits, foundations, or trust accounts for people that need this type of information. It could be paying people's layaways off privately, or through like some of these secret shoppers did some years ago. People who are struggling, being a blessing to someone. These are just some basic ideas that I had. Clothes for people, clothes for homeless people. People need clothing. It's important. Shoes are important for people who are homeless out there. They need shoes. Not just food is important. They have to do a lot of walking. They're on their feet a lot as well. So this is my weigh-in. Title of this video, I'm going to get ready to shut things down. That's kind of my time, guys. I want to spend some more time. This is going off the top of the head, so I didn't have my other notes with me off my computer, but these are some of the basic ideas that I had that I would like to do through my nonprofit or foundation once I learn how to get structured properly, God willing. But I'm going to need, I was telling a friend of mine, I want to make sure I have the proper education. I take my time, because I'm not as advanced as some people are. The discipline that I study, because some of these people, they hold back the real good information, and I understand. I'm not going to get into, I'm not the jealous type or whatever. I'm kind of past that. I've expressed my pet peeves about certain things, but these are some concerns that I have. If they want to see some of us do humanitarian projects, I'm able and willing. I really do want to help, but at the same time, I want to make sure it's important that I myself am structured properly. And it's also important to reiterate that you do things behind the scenes, as they emphasize to us, privately through other types of entities and things. And, be careful not to commingle. That's mixing public with private. So your foundations, nonprofits, LLCs, trust and things, and how you structure yourself is going to be critical, and classes and things of that nature as well. So without further ado, I want to thank you guys for joining me. For those of you all who joined the chat, getting ready to shut things down, Once again, you can follow me at Dorsey's Resource on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, of course. I appreciate you. Don't forget, if you do like what I do, like this video, smash the thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, so whenever I put out new videos, you guys, YouTube will notify you in the upper right hand corner. When I put out new videos, you get the updates with the information. So without further ado, I really thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate you all very much, and until next time, take care. Peace.